Welcome to Yury Experience, and today I want to talk to you about virginity. Another video from my sex ed series, and today I'm talking about virginity. I'm talking about what the hell is it and why do we still use it? Because if I'm completely honest with you, the more I read about it, the less sense it makes. I mean, I knew already that virginity is a pretty theoretical concept which we decided for ourselves. It's not like animals care about virginity. But still, the more you read about it, it's more like, why did we start with that? Isn't it like a bad stuff to talk about that much? So let's talk about it, because you need to know what you need to avoid, I assume. It's a strange topic, but still a topic that you need to know about. Let's go. But obviously, before we start, I have to tell you that this is Yury Experience, and here I share my various experiences about different topics. I make 2 videos per week, Mondays and Thursdays. If you will enjoy this video, please drop a like. You can also subscribe to the channel. Let's go. This is the more or less official definition of virginity, and in the countries where I lived in, virginity means something like you've never had sex before. Depending on the country and depending on the culture, definition will change slightly. It will go from, for example, you have to have no sex to you have to have little sex, which means you shall not experience sex for a lot of times in order to still be a virgin, so you have only a little experience. Then, since there are different kinds of sex, for example, vaginal penetration, anal penetration, or like oral sex, depending on who you will talk with, the definition of are you still a virgin after you had this type of sex will be different. For example, some people think that oral sex is enough to claim a person not be a virgin anymore, and it doesn't matter whether on receiving side or on the giving side. Also, we shall not forget about different sexualities, and again, depending on sexuality, the definition of virginity can also be different. For example, gay men couple, they cannot define virginity through vaginal penetration because they don't do stuff like that. Which is why on a lot of occasions gay men couple define virginity as anal penetration. But also, again, depending on the community and whatnot, the situation can change. Let's talk about the biggest misconception that is connected to virginity and one of the biggest misconceptions that are connected to sex. And this is that you can somehow objectively understand whether a person is a virgin or is not a virgin based on that person's appearance, some anatomical build, or that's pretty much it. That is not the case. There is no objective way to find out whether a person is a virgin. There's no objective way, both for men and for women, so for both types of bodies. No, there's none ways. If you do not know a lot about the topic and if you don't have a female body, you could say something like blood during sex and whatnot. That is wrong. What people talk about is tearing of hymen. It is a tissue, a thin tissue that can be found near the vaginal opening in vagina. This tissue, hymen, normally doesn't fully cover the opening of vagina. There are cases where it can happen that completely vaginal opening is closed by hymen, but that is normally bad for a female body because periods and when blood tries to come out of vaginal opening to the outside, there's like a barrier that doesn't allow it to come outside, which leads to the visit to the gynecologist or however this doctor is called, and it is pretty solvable problem. But for most people it is not the case. Most people who have vaginas, their hymen is looking like a ring that surrounds the opening. But since this tissue is stretchy and thin, it can happen that this tissue ruptures in some form without a penetration. There are different activities that can lead to rupturing of this tissue, to rupturing of hymen. And it doesn't have to be A, bloody, and it doesn't have to be B, sex. So at the end of the day, in actuality, blood is something that shall not happen even during first sex. If blood is something that happens, then maybe the person had like one of the not ring-forming hymens. That is also possible. But also maybe you just need to use some lubrication. That is also possibly the case. But overall rule, no, no, no. Hymen is no indication of the person having or not having sex. No. There are cases where a person births a child and that person still has hymen. Like, still, and this is really disgusting if you ask me, hymen is used as a proof of virginity in different cultures where being a virgin is extremely important from social point of view. More about that in a moment. And that brings some people to going for the operation that create hymen, or like put some fake blood into the vagina, so during the first penetration this fake blood will come out of the vagina. It doesn't make sense, because actually people don't really need hymen. There's no evolutionary benefit of having a hymen, which is why there's no benefit of a person being a virgin for pretty much anything. There's no benefit, but still this is something that people value, and sometimes value too much, which is, again, in my personal opinion, to bring a person to gynecologist and to make gynecologist write down that person probably never had sex. I find it disgusting. And sometimes parents bring their daughters to the gynecologist and stand in there and like, and what do you see? Why? I find it strange, wrong, and whatnot. As I mentioned already, virginity has a lot to do with social expectations, with social norms, and with culture of some specific country. In some countries, being a virgin is extremely, extremely important, and up until now, if you are not a virgin and you are not married, even if you were raped, you are a person of a lower value. You are a disgusting person, and people will throw slurs at you. That is where sexism enters the chat, and no, expectations for men and women are different. For men it's more like do whatever the hell you want. Although these rules, these norms come from religion, and in religion normally the rule is same for men and for women. In reality, it's more like, yeah, women shall be virgins because it's like saint, sanctuary, whatnot, but men, like, do whatever the hell you want, you dirty piece of a person with sex having time. Again, in my personal opinion, it's not like men are bad because there are no expectations for men. It's more a problem of society and how our history moved up until now. The problem is more when we still try to push forward this whole ideas and more like, yes, men do whatever you want, but women obviously the situation is different depending on the country. For example, in a lot of Western countries and USA and Canada, there is a movement towards the direction both of the sexes are kind of same and can, in terms of they can have sex as much as they want, and it doesn't really matter, and virginity doesn't really matter. But even in these countries, from time to time you meet people who are like, you are not a virgin, oh, you are disgusting. Doesn't matter of the sex. Obviously there are also countries which are not that difficult to find, where, as I mentioned already, you need to have certificate of virginity, not from Virginia, but from virginity. But yeah, you have to have certificate, so you have value as a person, which is, again, as I mentioned already, disgusting. Yay. And in the end, again, I will tell my personal opinion, and my personal opinion is virginity is bullshit. So, like, it doesn't have any reason behind it, except for cultural stuff that we had over time, except for sometimes some religious reasons, which are sometimes, to be honest with you, pretty questionable. But overall, it doesn't benefit anybody. And what I didn't mention is that there are some small expectations towards men that they have experience with sex. It is not good to be a virgin, a male virgin. There are enough movies that you can find about that. So basically, the concept of virginity is not good for anybody. It's not good for men because men shall have sex. It's not good for women because women shall not have sex. And basically, like, it cannot work both ways. It's exclusive to each other. So if you ask me, sex is a personal choice. Do whatever you want with your personal choice. You know your situation better. Maybe your parents are really crazy about it, and good luck changing your parents, but at the end of the day, it is your life, it is your connection with other people, it is your intimate parts, and it is your body. Do whatever the hell you want and tell them that Yury told them to go themselves. Yury support, yay! That is pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video. The target of the video is not to tell you don't be a virgin. Do whatever you want. That implicates, if you want to have sex, have sex. If you don't want to have sex, don't have sex. If you don't want to have sex for your whole life, do whatever the hell you want. Sex is a personal thing. Between you and other person, or maybe between you and yourself, or between you and group of people, but not between you and society, in my personal opinion. But except for that, push a like button if you want to, push a subscribe button if you want to. I see you on Thursday. Have a great week.